Hello, Star Trek fans. Welcome to ReBinge It. This is the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And my name is Attiba.
And we are rebinging Star Trek Voyager from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on Year of Hell, Part 2. Season 4, Episode 9. This episode aired November 12th, 1997. And Attiba is here for Part 2, so welcome back.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
A little bit of time between the two recordings that we didn't expect, but nothing too drastic. Not like a season finale or anything. Nothing like that. James already started coughing, so here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to try and avoid as much coughing as possible.
Before we start talking about this one, anybody have anything to say about last week's episode?
I think it went just great.
I will just say up front that Part 1, although I really enjoyed the episode, some really good sci-fi, it's very much a building episode leading up to Part 2.
And I suppose I should have said, what episode? We did an episode last week? Or
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That is a Star Trek-worthy well actually there.
Yeah, nice. Well, I will correct one mistake. I think in my notes, for some reason, I said the last episode aired in September, but it didn't. It aired in November. I don't know what happened there. Simple typo, probably.
It's just a question of dates.
Yeah, star dates. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
We do get a quick recap of the last episode where we, in particular, see a lot of Voyager destruction. That seems to be what they keep replaying. A lot of drama as they show Janeway telling everyone but the senior staff to abandon ship at the end.
I don't know if I could have watched a whole season of Voyager just being beaten up every week.
Well, that was the plan, right?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah, that would have been... It's bad watching my ship just get kicked around.
Wait, it's your ship now?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I can see where it could have made for some interesting storytelling, and we could have maybe had a slower progression to the Janeway crazy, and, it might have been better in many ways, but I also found it really hard to watch. And I put off watching it for a long time because it is tough to watch the ship just get beat to crap.
This was worse than the Defiant getting destroyed.
Oh, hold on. Wait a second. Nothing was worse than the Defiant getting... well, maybe Enterprise D, then Defiant. But Voyager, there's not a lot of stakes on this show, let's be honest.
Oh!
Because you know that it's always going to go back to being fine. Yeah. But that's true of any of the, episodic shows.
True.
It's true of all of them. I mean, even really on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Just until the very end,
right,
when they made it a little bit more serialized. But still, they threw episodes in there that were end and start over.
I'm going to throw some controversy out here. The second Defiant is not the Defiant.
Yeah, it's a Sao Paulo.
Yeah, just because you go to Prontoprint and get some Defiant stickers, it is still the Sao Paulo.
I never understood what anybody's attachment was to the Defiant, honestly. It was a small ship. It didn't have any quarters. It had I didn't get it. It had no personality. I don't understand what you're obsessed with.
It was a battle cruiser in an age of ships of peace and discovery.
Yeah, see, Kim, I think what you're not factoring in is the badass factor of the Defiant.
Yes.
After this episode, I challenge anyone to say anyone is more badass than Janeway. I don't think it exists. So I don't know. I guess you just like that it was a tough ship.
She went pretty nuts, but did she ever destroy a planet's entire biosphere? I don't know. So
I think we can all agree that was a terrible idea that Sisko did that.
No.
Very out of Star Trek.
No, but I will counter with Janeway leaves chaos in her wake.
She does. I think we left some of that in the Gamma Quadrant too, so.
We should probably get back to the show.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, we're here.
All right. I haven't even really started, even though I said I was going to. So we open on a log from Janeway saying Voyager is hiding in a nebula. They've taken so much damage they're vulnerable to space anomalies or anyone looking for a fight.
Yeah.
We see Harry and Janeway trying to figure out the cause of a gas leak, and everything is just going wrong on this ship.
Oh, it is just trashed. The ship is just trashed.
Later on the bridge, the doctor is admonishing the captain for not heeding his warnings about exposure to the gas, and she's coughing, which is tough to listen to, and also refusing treatment as she continues to try and repair the ship, which seems hopeless, honestly. I don't I don't know. We're just putting tape over things at this point.
This is 6 months in dry dock to just figure out what you need to repair.
Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge, too, in this episode is, do you really believe that that's how we're going to leave the show, right? Are we going to leave this little 2-episode arc with Voyager just shelled?
Yeah.
Or is something magical going to happen? And I think the Star Trek-ness of it tells us something magical is going to happen.
And Janeway has actual lung damage, and she's just carrying on.
She does not care. She's like, give me the injection, I'll be fine. Over on the time ship, which they keep calling the weapon ship, but I don't know. I guess it's not a time ship. It's more of an out of time ship. Anyway, Chuckles is dragged out of a dark cell looking disheveled, but in the next shot, he is shaved and cleaned up and brought to a table full of unidentifiable food. Although I did think one tray at the front looked like Star Trek melon. Annorax welcomes him. We learn here that Chuckles and Tom have been in isolation for 2 months, have been poked and prodded and scanned. Tom has been as difficult for them as you'd expect, with Annorax saying he's never seen such an intransigent young man. He expected them to act with some degree of dignity and restraint, which is quite funny. I mean, Tom in particular is not that person.
No. Chakotay, yes.
Yes, maybe. Tom enters, also cleaned and shaved, with his chest hair on display. And now Annorax says the table in front of them is full of delicacies, things that you can't find anywhere else in the galaxy, because it turns out he erased all of these civilizations from history.
Yes.
Annorax has discovered how far from home Voyager is, calling them an anomalous component messing with his mission.
Yeah.
But he remains threatening at all times because he says in the blink of an eye, he could do anything, right? He does say that he could restore Voyager to its former condition to a point where they would never have met. He can control the destiny of a single molecule or an entire civilization. He claims that he's decided to spare Voyager if they work together, and he starts asking questions about their journey.
Yeah.
Tom is on to him, though. He quickly realizes all of this is because he can't find Voyager, and Janeway has managed to elude him.
Chakotay is weirdly interested in what Annorax is saying, and Tom is just like, no, this is a total no.
But Chakotay has shown that he's always like this, right? He's always ready to talk about it, negotiate it, try to talk his way out of trouble. I think that's pretty normal for him, although it goes to an extreme in this episode. But I think at this point, I believe he would be willing to at least talk about it, if not really agree to it.
That sort of conciliatory nature they built up with Chakotay over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
I can see that. I do like Annorax's extinction buffet. All this food from races are like, oh yes, these are all people I've wiped out. Try some of their food.
Yeah.
It's like the theme, the banner that's hanging on the wall says extinction buffet.
Yeah. He does have some great lines here where he says, this vessel is more than a weapon. It's a museum of lost histories.
Lost histories that you caused?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like,
you don't want to dwell on the details of it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. We're not talking about the why.
Just enjoy the food. Have some of the wine.
Annorax claims that the deal he's trying to make is real, but Tom says we don't want blood on our hands, and he starts to leave. But Chuckles says, hold on. He asks if a precise enough calculation could restore Voyager and not harm anyone else. Annorax says it's possible, but extremely difficult, and that's why he needs their cooperation. Then he has Obrys take Tom away. He's like, I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. But he does ask Tom to keep an open mind. And then alone with Chuckles, he says he was impressed with his question. He seems to understand the subtleties of time. I'm not sure that question pointed out that he was a genius, but okay. He says not everyone has the ability to perceive the colors and moods of time.
Yeah.
This, I think, is a really good scene for Annorax because we can see how good Kurtwood Smith is.
Yeah.
Like you immediately go, oh, he's got something else going on, right? It's not just about this weapon. He has got some sort of obsession with time.
Definitely.
On Voyager, we are toasting distant friends. Everyone makes a face when drinking Neelix's concoction made from rations, and Seven even says, it's offensive. But she says, taste is irrelevant.
These are ration cubes that have been pureed.
And mixed with water. Ooh, disgusting.
Nice. Gross.
You gotta admit, it's pretty cool how Neelix is managing to remain upbeat amongst all of this. And you still have Neelix, the morale officer.
Exactly. He's still trying. That is impressive. Why is Seven here? She's not an officer. She's not even a member of the crew. Do you think she volunteered?
I would expect that she would volunteer because of Janeway. I think she probably feels either a bond or a duty to stick with the captain.
Could be.
I mean, she still has a lot of that Borg programming inbuilt, and Janeway is the effective queen.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree with what James said, but also ratings. That's why she's there.
Oh, man. Yes, that is definitely true.
Yeah.
I wondered if maybe nobody wanted a Borg in their escape pod. They're like, nope, take the next one. Nope, take the next one. And then she didn't get one.
I think even from a practical standpoint, she is extremely competent. So you would want her to be there.
Yeah, but technically it's supposed to be the senior staff, which she is not one of. But anyway, I imagine she volunteered.
Yeah.
Janeway asks for repair status of the ship, and we are weeks away from the ship being in working order. She thought the nebula was going to be a safe space to do repairs, but it's feeling like a permanent residence. She really wants to be back in open space building allies in order to take on Annorax.
Yeah.
So she hastily says, I'm done with this. We're leaving this pod tomorrow. And Seven says she is in error. Voyager is defenseless, but Janeway doesn't care. She says, we're leaving in the morning.
I kind of get Janeway's point, but at the same time, you're kind of pirate fodder in terms of what your capabilities are.
Yeah, it's like, I think we all understand her frustration, and also the longer they wait, the more damage Annorax can cause, and the more likely it is that they'll never get Chakotay and Tom back. But yeah, you are in such a vulnerable position, it really doesn't make sense that you would want to do this.
Thinking about that, that's a good point. If you did leave it any longer, there's the risk that Annorax could figure out a method of destroying Voyager by killing another race. So I guess the clock is ticking.
Later, Tuvok privately tells Seven not to contradict the captain in front of the crew. But again, she's a civilian, so I feel like she can say what she wants if the captain has let her in the room.
Yeah.
She knows that he agrees with her, but he says his trust in the captain is absolute. She's a bit confused about how to balance this newfound individualism that everybody keeps pushing on her with restraint. And Tuvok says the guideline is the captain is always right. Is that true?
I would. On a starship that's not in the middle of the Delta Quadrant, maybe not. But I feel like the Voyager is more of a sovereign nation than an actual.
Yes.
Especially at this point. Yeah.
I would liken it to, yes, in civilized space, I don't think the captain should be treated godlike in this manner if the captain is always right. I think in an enlightened, idealistic society, that wouldn't be a need or a necessity. But what I see Janeway as, and what I've always seen Voyager as, is Voyager is that Age of Sail ship in basically the bit of the map that says, here be monsters. And the captain is effectively the monarch, the god. That is their ship. Although it's maybe a little unpalatable, it is the best chance they've got of surviving, especially with somebody as competent as Janeway.
Also, with the ship in as bad a condition as it is, the preservation of the chain of command and the command structure has to be a main priority.
Oh, agreed.
Just because if that goes, then there's nothing.
Yeah, and that was the note that I wrote down too. Maybe it's because of the state that we're in and the current situation, and you need somebody to be making quick decisions.
Right.
And everybody to sort of be following. But you got to be able to express your opinion every now and then.
Right.
But yeah, I think we've seen when Janeway is under extreme duress, she is not interested in your opinion.
Right.
James, it's been a long time since you brought up Age of Sail, like weeks, I think, since you
Thank you.
On the time ship, Chakotay has an idea. He's found a rogue comet that Voyager avoided about 8 months ago. If we erase that comet from history, Voyager would never have entered Krenim space.
Yeah.
But after a simulation, he learns that all life within 50 light years would never have existed. Smiling, Annorax says, "Congratulations, you almost wiped out 8,000 civilizations." It seems Chuckles didn't consider the entire history of the comet, which included fragments that landed on a planet 4 billion years ago, leading to evolution and life in that region of space.
Very interesting. There's a few cool kind of concepts here. The concept of basically life being formed on planets from outside events, from a comet in this case. I like that. Right. The next thing is, I think we're seeing here that Annorax's weapon is a little too crude. It seems to be only able to wipe something out from history completely. There's sort of no subtlety to it. It's Annorax's hammer. I mean, if you developed something a little bit better, how about wiping out that comet 20 minutes before Voyager showed up?
Yeah.
So you could go to specific points in time and change. I mean, he says, I can change the destiny of a single molecule. Okay, or an atom. change some of that. You don't have to wipe it out from history.
All it can do is wipe it out. That's it. That's its only power.
It seems too crude.
And I think that statement came in a moment of megalomania from Annorax.
Yeah. Okay, that does seem to be another attribute of Annorax.
But the time ship doesn't seem to have that. Doesn't seem to even be capable of that level of precision.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all you can do is wipe things from existence, apparently. So if it was capable of that degree of precision, he could probably have gotten the things that he was looking for well before he had to start wiping out everything. So.
Right. But he's had 200 years to work on it. What else has he been doing? He hasn't really been trying to upgrade. He's just been wiping out different civilizations looking for the answer. Maybe he's not as smart as he thinks.
We still don't have flying cars, so I mean, things take time.
I still feel cheated about that.
That's true. Annorax says the past, present, and future exist as one, and Chuckles isn't the first person to make that mistake. When he first constructed this weapon ship, he turned it against their greatest enemy, the Rilnar. The result was miraculous. When they were removed from history, his people became powerful again in an instant. But of course there were problems. A rare disease broke out on their colonies, and 50 million were dead within a year. He hadn't realized the Rilnar had introduced a crucial antibody into the Krenim genome. Chuckles now realizes Annorax has been trying to undo that mistake ever since, but each time he tries, a new thread unravels. Annorax says, "You can't imagine the burden of the memories I carry." And Chuckles says, after 200 years, why do you think you'll ever succeed? But he compares it to the optimism of the Voyager crew, thinking they'll ever reach Earth.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Chew on that.
Yeah. Now, Annorax says he has the burden of memory of thousands of worlds. Surely everybody on that ship has the same memories. That they know about everything that's gone on. They remember the Empire before he destroyed everything by accident.
Yeah, because they're also in the same situation.
Yeah.
Annorax does think that Chakotay can help him restore what he's lost because, I don't know, he thinks that they're like kindred spirits in time.
Yeah.
Back to Voyager on day 180, and the ship is out of the nebula and being pelted by tiny meteoroids.
Oh.
Engines are still not responding, and the deflector dish is down. Janeway says she's going to deflector control to try and repair it manually, despite Tuvok's warning that it's been designated as hazard level 4. She doesn't care. She runs down there, forces the door open, only to find an active fire burning, not a little fire, a huge fire. And she says to herself that Voyager is testing her, which I quite liked.
Oh, yeah.
But now, without even trying to find some kind of a hazard suit or put out the fire, she grabs a shield, which is just a piece of Voyager that's laying on the floor, and tells the bridge to warn the doctor to be prepared for her to have severe burns. Tuvok argues, but she says, "Do it," in that guttural way that she says that. And then to Voyager, she says, "Be kind," and in she goes. A few seconds later, deflectors are online and we're able to deflect the meteoroids, but we see Janeway unconscious on the floor and burned to a crisp.
Oh, really good makeup effects there. They look horrific.
Later, the doctor revives her. She has survived, but he can't repair all of the damage, so she is quite scarred. She's ready to go back to work, of course, and climbs off the table, but the doctor says she has traumatic stress syndrome and cannot return to duty.
Oh, yeah, what's the big deal? She only had burns to 60% of her body. She has scars on her arms and face. She's fine.
She's fine. They bicker as he says he could relieve her of command, so she threatens to turn him off. He's like, "See?
Yeah, you ain't right.
I told you, you're under stress."
I feel that's a little bit of, and who's going to do that exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, pretty much how this conversation goes. She does apologize, saying she wouldn't turn him off, but he just says, "As chief medical officer, I'm relieving you of your active command." And we finally have Action Janeway. I feel like I've been waiting for Action Janeway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And here she is, because now she's in her tank top.
Yep.
And she says, "How are you going to implement that order? There's no security team. There's not even a brig." And he says, "By ignoring my orders, you risk a court-martial," but she doesn't care. She says, "If we make it home, I'll be happy to face the music." And she just leaves.
This is Janeway's Ripley moment. Bill me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Bill Me. I mean, she's got the tank top, right?
Yep.
This is sort of the Janeway that I'm here for. She's crazy, tank top, disheveled, a little out of her mind.
Scarred. Don't forget that. This is true badass Janeway.
Oh, yeah, and she's just covered in, soot, right? She's also, everybody in this episode is just covered in black.
Okay. This, I feel, is where things get really interesting. This is where we have jumped into Arthurian legend, succinctly demonstrated by John Boorman's Excalibur.
Great film.
Yes, where the concept of the king and the land are one. This here is where Janeway and Voyager are one. The ship's damaged and scarred and running on fumes, and the captain is too. Mm-hmm. I think the important symbolism here is the two are now truly intertwined. The king and the land are one. Janeway and Voyager are one. The captain and the ship are one. And that's what I think we're seeing here. And I love it.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that because that becomes really true at the end.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a great point. Now it's day 207 and Neelix and the captain are walking through the ship surveying the wreckage.
Broken. Oh, that's all broken. This is all broken. Yep.
They enter Chakotay's quarters, which is a complete disaster, and Janeway finds the watch that he gave her for her birthday in the previous episode, which we learn was 5 months ago at this point. She quietly says he disobeyed orders, but she clips the watch onto her waistband.
Nice touch.
That thing is massive.
It is massive.
She's so tiny, it's just like huge.
She's walking around looking like Flavor Flav.
Yeah, a little bit. Back on the time ship, Orbist and Tom are playing a game. Orbist suddenly becomes sad as he realizes that Tom plays the game the same way his brother used to. He says he used to honor his family's birthdays, but after a century he realized he was celebrating for people who were dead or never even existed.
Tough.
Tom realizes he may have an in with the henchmen now.
This is such a great scene. It's only short, but I think you can see the damage that 200 years of doing this, what it's doing to the crew and Oberst. Yeah. Where he says he suddenly realizes he's been celebrating the dead for a century.
Well, even the fact that he's playing a game with Tom is like, I just need someone new to talk to, right? Yeah. Because they're talking about how annoying Tom has been, but yet this guy is like, this is a different person. I don't have to talk to the same 10 people.
Right.
I can come and play whatever game they were playing with this guy. Tom now goes to see Chakotay. He's learned that the shields around the temporal core are weak. With the core offline, a photon grenade could penetrate the hull. He also says this is not a happy crew. They want what they're doing to end. But Chuckles isn't ready to do anything drastic, saying he's making progress with his own calculations. So he's picked up a bit of the obsession of Annorax.
Yes.
He defends Annorax, saying he's enlightened but misguided. Tom doesn't have the same respect, saying
no.
He's been flattering you and it's gone to your head. Chuckles says he's out of line, so Tom backs off of the mutiny talk, but says he might be able to get Oberst at least to send a message to Voyager. Chakotay says not yet. If you get caught, we lose everything.
Yeah.
He gives Tom an order, because Tom is just arguing with him, saying we maintain our command structure or settle our differences the old-fashioned way, which is always where this moron goes.
Yeah. Chakotay seems just totally suckered in by this. Like, he's totally drunk the Kool-Aid. And I assume that Annorax is playing into that as well, to keep Chakotay on board. I mean, Chakotay maybe even has a talent for doing these calculations, and Annorax is playing to that.
He found someone else to play with. I guess kind of like Tom found a friend.
Right, yes.
Yeah, Annorax and Chuckles have found a friend.
Yeah, a good parallel. Maybe that's the problem. Annorax has reached a point after 200 years, and none of the crew are on the same page as him. And this is somebody new who's interested in the calculations and sees the potential.
Yeah.
So he's...
And that's why he feels like he's carrying the burden.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Chakotay is so off base here. If we're going with the military angle, I think you could effectively accuse him of giving aid and assistance to the enemy at this point. And then the less than subtle threat of going back to the old-fashioned way. Okay, your commanding officer has gone full traitor, and he's told Tom he's effectively sided with Annorax. Chakotay needs to be the first one taken out in the mutiny. And worst of all, Chakotay is warning Tom that that's what Tom needs to do.
Okay, are we sure Chakotay is not suffering from some kind of permanent Stockholm syndrome?
Oh.
So he starts as this, merciless terrorist leader, but capitulates to Janeway's way of doing things, like, almost immediately. Yeah. And now he's in another situation with a powerful authority figure, and he's capitulating immediately to this guy. So, like, is this just something that Chakotay does? Like, he swears up and down that he's this tough guy and loves to box and loves to, like, settle things by punching people. But, like, when the dew hits the fan, he's always willing to just be like, okay, whatever you say, boss, that's what we're going to do. And in many ways, he might be the perfect first officer for Voyager. But I don't know. It's just something that I noticed. Maybe when they decided to make the show not be so much about the conflict between the Maquis and the Starfleet crew, that meant Chakotay's character had to change a lot.
Yeah.
But in this episode, it just seems like he's just got this willingness to just capitulate. And I don't know what that's about.
Well, I would say I can understand trying to help your leader succeed. Exactly. I totally can get that, right? I feel like I do that because that's my job generally. It's like I need to help my leader succeed. And yes, sometimes when I see that they're crazy, and this has happened in my life, I've gone around them. But generally, I try to help. So I do get that. But I would say at this point in the story, he really is feeling like he can find a way to make a change that will affect no one. And also, he thinks he's convinced Annorax to not hurt anyone while he works on this.
Yeah.
So right at this moment, he thinks, hey, he's not hurting anybody else. If I actually can come up with a way to get Voyager out of here, everything will be okay.
That's
so
true.
I don't know that he's fully turned into Annorax yet or fully gotten on his side. But if you just kind of think about where he's at right now, because now we're going to go into a scene where he's going to start to see, maybe I don't quite have him.
Well, he does make the comment that he feels Annorax is just misguided, that his motivations are pure.
Yeah.
Almost like Annorax just accidentally made a mistake and wiped out several hundred different races.
At the same time, his motivations are not pure because he is doing everything he can to restore his wife. That's what he's doing.
Exactly.
He knows that right now. Or have we not gotten to that yet? I can't remember.
I don't think we've quite gotten to that yet, but that's coming.
Okay, so he does. Okay, so he doesn't know that yet.
I think at this point he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Maybe he does know, but it hasn't been explained in the story.
But if we thought Janeway might do something similar in this situation, but I do think she wouldn't stop Tom from trying to come up with a solution. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of, Chakotay's just like, no, we're not doing that. Just back off. It's like, no, you should be preparing also for the mutiny that might come.
Should have all options available instead of telling Tom, no, don't do that. Be good. Just be good. You're going to get us kicked out of here.
Maybe that's something deliberate to show the difference between Janeway and Chakotay. Because I think as watchers of the show, Janeway would be like, Tom, don't go and upset everyone, but keep doing what you're doing, but do it quietly.
Right.
I do have something kind of about this later in Leadership Corner, because I think there's a parallel between those two stories. An alarm goes off, and Tom and Chakotay go to the bridge to find that Annorax had a late-night brainstorm, and he's preparing for a temporal incursion. He says eradicating this one species will result in a 52% restoration. Chakotay protests, saying, I thought we were trying to avoid any more destruction. But Annorax says, when time offers you an opportunity, you take it.
Yes.
We can't stop him, and the species is erased. Tom says quietly to Chuckles, if you don't do something about this maniac, I will.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Quite right.
I like Tom finally standing up to Chakotay.
And why are we trying to restore 52% if 90-something% wasn't enough?
Oh, okay.
I'm confused by that.
Headcanon here. I feel what's happening is this has been a building process. So Annorax does an incursion and they get back 25%. And then the next one, they maybe get back another 5% and so on. So when in that last big incursion where he managed to get 98% back, I think that was probably because of a series of steps. So eventually you build up to where the Empire was. So this is just another stepping stone.
I mean, if you think of it that way, then he's never going to get there. It's impossible.
I think that's a big part of the story.
Do we think Annorax cares if they get back to 100%?
No, he just wants his wife.
Right, that's what I thought. Like, he'd be fine if it was 12%.
But his wife was
bad. Yeah.
Kind of a good point.
But I have this note a little bit later, but I still, after 200 years, I don't even think, what would he accomplish? Would she not be dead anyway at this point?
Well, he's outside time, so...
But she isn't.
Yes, but I think if he restores the Imperium, it will be at the point he caused the problems. So if he brings it back, it will be at that moment in time.
Right, but he's walking around with 200 years worth of memories that of destroying all this stuff, and he's going to try to just reinsert himself back into that life, and that's a different show, but that would never really actually work.
Time is fishy.
Right, exactly. It's timey-wimey, as they say. in certain
It's very
places.
timey-wimey.
And it's heavily affected by Mavity.
Oh my God, Mavity. I thought that was really funny. At the end of Doctor Who's last season, they were still saying Mavity. Attiba, did you catch in the last Strange New Worlds when Carol Kane's character said something about a doctor in time?
Sadly, I do not have Paramount Plus account. I will be catching up on Strange New Worlds eventually once I can purchase the whole season.
You watch for that because
I have seen through nerd circles kind of talk of the Doctor crossing into Star Trek lore.
It's just a little side comment she makes. I know they did a comic about it once, but they did a panel at Comic-Con, not this year, but last year, where the current showrunners of Doctor Who and Star Trek talked, and they would love to do a crossover, but they said the lawyers they can't find a way to make it happen. But they're big fans of each other's shows, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, she makes just a little comment, which James actually missed. I was like, oh, that was a Doctor Who reference.
That time I was hanging out with the time-traveling doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cute.
So, quick question, James. If this was a Doctor Who episode, this be wrapped up in 35 minutes?
Oh, easily.
This whole Year of Hell situation? Yeah, just making sure we're on the same page.
They do multi-part Doctor Who's, but I feel this would be a single episode.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a great episode for Capaldi to just go in there and just read Annorax the Riot Act and...
Oh, yeah, this would be a Capaldi episode.
Yeah.
The doctors do make a lot of speeches.
Especially that one.
I haven't watched him yet. And now they've taken it off of HBO. I don't know where. They got to put it back somewhere so I can watch it.
It's in limbo. It's nowhere now.
It'll come back, yeah. Chakotay confronts Annorax, but he says he's trying to alter history on a massive scale, and the fate of one species is insignificant. This is the problem.
Yes. I think Annorax has lost all perspective by this point.
Chuckles says you're trying to rationalize genocide. All life is significant. But Annorax says it seemed so easy the first time he changed history, but when he did it a second time, he lost his family on Kiana Prime. Chakotay had already noticed this in the logs, that no matter how close he gets to restoration, that colony is never restored.
Yes.
Annorax admits his wife and children and grandchildren were on that colony. For years, he worked day and night on this weapon, and she never even knew that he was calculating her fate. He says he won't stop until time has given him back his wife. Which, again, I think is impossible. But anyway...
Another scene I think is great. That moment where Annorax says, force time to give me back my wife.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he starts ranting about time being angry at him personally, which reminds me of the Speed Force on The Flash, because suddenly the Speed Force had feelings or something, which I never understood. He says he thinks time is punishing him for his arrogance. Oberst comes in to say they achieved 50% restoration, but Kiana Prime is still not restored. Chakotay says he doesn't have the right to continue, but Annorax says only time can pronounce judgment on him.
Yeah. And he goes on that little rant about how time itself has tried to punish me for my arrogance. It has kept me from my wife, denied me my future. I love it. Mm-hmm. I think you see, this is where I think you see that Annorax has, crossed that line into crazed obsession.
And probably over 100 years ago, he probably crossed that.
Oh, yeah. And I got to sing the praises of Kurtwood Smith at this point. This character, it would be so easy for him to just go over the edge and turn into, a scenery-chewing mega villain.
Mm-hmm.
But he manages to keep it almost sort of just under control, downplay this character while saying just these awful things. Like, it doesn't matter if you wipe them out. My motives are bigger. And I really like that about the portrayal of him. Annorax isn't over the top. And I feel this is where he can sort of seduce Chakotay into helping him.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem unreasonable.
No.
And he doesn't seem particularly emotional about anything either.
Yes.
Which probably is why he doesn't seem crazed, but he is crazed.
But yeah, you listen to the words.
Mm-hmm. Later, Chakotay tells Tom that Annorax isn't insane, even after this conversation.
Look at Chakotay. I feel Chakotay just isn't getting it.
No, he does say he's wounded and tortured, but yeah, he's also insane.
In some ways, that kind of is the Federation way.
Yeah.
Can't we talk the villain down?
He still thinks he can talk him out of it, right?
Yeah.
Even though this has been going on for 200 years, it's like, you're not going to reach him.
Okay. Perhaps Chakotay is actually being the better Starfleet officer than Tom.
Well, maybe, but Tom also says here, everyone else on the ship has lost their families too.
Yeah.
So you can't just be worried about this one guy, that we should do everything for this one guy's family. What about all these other people? So I don't know that Chakotay is being any better of a Starfleet officer.
Well, I think in terms of trying to take the conciliatory approach of can't we talk this villain down?
Well, that's true. Tom reports that he now has access to the communications array, so he can send the message to Voyager when ready. Shutting down the core will be harder. He thinks Oberst will help him, but it will set off every alarm on the ship, and he says, we'll only have one chance. Chuckles tells him, go ahead and send the message, so he's finally at least convinced.
He doesn't seem happy about this.
No.
No, because he's having so much fun playing with time.
Yeah.
On Voyager, it's day 226, and the shelled Voyager has forged a coalition with 2 other alien species, and they've banded together to attack the time ship.
Yep.
Janeway has received the message from Tom and says the plan is for Tom to get the core offline, transmit the exact location of the core, and then we'll disable it. She sends all the members of the crew to other ships to make sure that they all have temporal shielding enabled to protect themselves. She plans to pilot Voyager alone, which of course concerns everyone.
Yeah.
She says there's still fight in Voyager, and also, don't forget, the captain goes down with the ship. Great.
Okay, once again, a truly terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea because perhaps in losing that ship, the captain had learned something. So you lose all that skill and learning when the captain goes down with it. Terrible idea.
I think it's just more about courage, right?
Okay, maybe.
Tuvok stays behind to disagree a bit more with the captain, saying he's never understood humans' ability to forge emotional bonds with inanimate objects. But Janeway says Voyager is more than that, and it needs one of us now. Tuvok wishes her well, saying live long and prosper, and the captain hugs him, and he actually hugs back.
Yes.
And how everyone doesn't sob their eyes out here, I don't know.
That is a tough scene. I mean, Tuvok is leaving Janeway on the bridge.
To die.
Oh, yeah, and he knows she's not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Timras is still the best Vulcan.
I think that's true.
And Martug is the best Klingon.
Oh.
If we're just saying who's the best, whatever.
Oh, nobody's come close to Martug.
Let's not take away all of Kern's flowers.
True.
Also good, but still Martug's the best.
Yeah.
Because we had more of him, so it's easier to, to say he's great.
Any votes for Gowron?
No.
Okay.
No.
Absolutely not. He had the best eyes.
Well, the best thing Gowron did was be killed by Worf.
Oh, geez. And Gowron, he wore a good cape.
Oh, yeah.
Can that man wear the hell out of a coat?
Yes. Janeway looks at the watch on her waistband and at Chakotay's chair, and then she sits down in the captain's chair.
Oh, there are some iconic scenes in this episode, and this one, Janeway sitting on this wrecked bridge, but still on the captain's chair. Perfect cinematography.
Agreed. It's day 257 now, so she's been by herself on the ship for 31 days, in case you're not keeping track.
It took them that long to catch up with the weapons ship?
Well, and to put the shielding in place.
Oh, I guess so. They had to get... Yeah, okay.
So we're finally arriving at the time ship. Everyone has their temporal shields up, and Janeway sits down at the con. Over on the time ship, they detect Voyager and the other ships approaching, but Annorax says, their weapons can't harm us. Let them come. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Underestimating Janeway at your peril.
Hubris.
Chuckles gives a little nod to Oberst, and then he begins distracting Annorax, saying Janeway has undoubtedly shared temporal shielding with those other species, and this could cause them to use it to protect not just their ships, but also their homeworlds from the weapon.
Yeah.
Annorax doesn't seem to mind, saying, bring the weapon online, like he's just going to get rid of Janeway, and he thinks that's going to fix everything.
I feel Annorax here is really missing the big picture, which is kind of funny considering how he likes to think like that. They have temporal shielding. The game's over. Your weapon is now effectively useless.
But it isn't, because he's about to use it, and it works, so...
But in a small scale, we saw with Voyager, it can throw off his calculations. So if you go from just one ship having temporal shielding, which can throw off the ability to do incursions, imagine hundreds of ships or thousands of ships. So all of his calculations will just be blown to pieces.
Unless he is able to remove Voyager from history.
Oh.
Then it didn't happen.
Nobody. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But how's he going to do it?
Accept that.
I guess because Voyager is so shelled. I don't even know how those temporal shields could possibly be powered. They don't have any power. So I don't know. But yeah, if he finds a way to remove it from history, then all the temporal shielding will go away.
Good point.
On Voyager, we're ready to attack, just waiting for Tom to get the core offline. The time ship fires on some of the ships in the fleet, just erasing them from existence. So I don't know how they did that. I guess they didn't have temporal shields.
Tactical advice here for the whole fleet. Do not fly right in front of the time ship.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
It seems to be the only one direction its weapon will fire, and they fly right in front of it.
Just go behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fine.
We did see that with Voyager, though. Even with the time shielding, the weapon ship was powerful enough to push it out of the time stream, because Harry reported that when they got caught in the beam.
That's true. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Don't get close to it.
Yeah, don't get too close. Tom continues to try and get the core down. When Annorax gives Orbis an order, he doesn't follow through. Instead, he takes the temporal core offline himself.
Nice.
He then beams Tom and Chakotay away and says, "This is over." Annorax panics because they're now phasing back into normal space-time.
Oberys has just had enough.
He's done. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like that it wasn't Tom.
Yes.
That Orbis is like, oh, God, I'm sick of this guy.
Captain Bligh, your time is up.
Janeway now has the location of the core, and she has learned that Chakotay and Tom have been beamed to one of the other ships. But the time ship starts shooting normal weapons at the fleet, causing one of the other ships to collide violently with Voyager, which is already a mess.
Yeah.
Janeway now is on the floor. She has nothing. I don't think she has any shields. She certainly has no weapons. Yeah. And she's laying on the floor amongst even more damage than you can imagine. She drags herself into the captain's chair, looking through a hole in the hull of Voyager right at the time ship in front of her. That was totally cool.
There's a hole in the bridge. You can see the shield keeping it together and the time ship. We've had a great series of visual effects in the final part of this episode. I do have a question here. The time ship starts using conventional Krenim weapons. Now, those were just the torpedoes with a phase variance, and they all have temporal shielding. So how did they work?
I mean, they're still torpedoes. Yeah. I mean, the phase variance makes them harder to work on the shields, but they still are explosive devices hitting your ship.
Okay.
They might still just have phasers and things too.
We didn't see phasers. We just saw them being hit with Krenim torpedoes. I guess I will accept Attiba's explanation.
They're just throwing them at the ships.
Right.
There's still explosions.
Right. Annorax says to target Voyager and put Janeway out of her misery. Tuvok says all the ships have lost weapons, so Janeway, of course, says, let's take temporal shields offline because she's going to set a collision course. She says if that ship is destroyed, all of history might be restored, and this is 1 year she'd like to forget. Not sure how she knows that, but okay.
I feel she should have said, perhaps this is a good day to die. Ramming speed.
Instead, she says, time's up, and rams Voyager into the time ship, destabilizing the temporal core. Annorax says it's going to cause a temporal incursion inside the ship. And for some reason, he runs to his officer's quarters where he watches the container with his wife's hair smash to the floor and the hair disappears, no longer protected from the passage of time.
Oh, was that not a great parallel to Janeway's mug falling onto the floor and smashing?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. When she said it was her lucky mug and then it smashes. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, here we have his pyramid smashing and the hair disappearing. Yeah. Such a nice little touch.
Well, the time ship implodes, sending out a temporal wave in all directions. After a beat, we get day 1, with Janeway giving a normal log and Voyager back to perfect condition. The new astrometric lab has come online again, like it did at the beginning of the previous episode.
Yeah, but there's no ceremony. They're just very practical about it, of like, oh, we brought it online.
And they're charting a new course home. A vessel approaches, and it's the bald Krenim guy that we saw earlier in part 1. He says, you've entered Krenim space, and this region is in dispute. I suggest you avoid our territory. Janeway thanks him for the warning, and they plot a course around Krenim space. That was awfully easy.
Another nice little touch. It's exactly the same guy in the warship-sized ship. And he's just sort of like, not a good time to be here, guys. Please go around.
Yeah, his message is slightly different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he even wishes them a good journey.
Yep.
You don't see that arrogance that the Krenim had in the previous encounters.
Now we jump to what must be Kiana Prime, as I guess erasing the time ship from history has put Kiana Prime back in play. Annorax's wife finds him doing calculations at his desk and asks him to spend the day with her. He stops working and goes with her, leaving a datapad on his desk, but we get a look at it and we see the familiar incursion simulation screen.
Yes.
And the episode ends.
Okay, before we go into our over-analysis, there are a few things about this episode I think we should probably discuss. I believe the entire message of this episode that finally comes out at the end is, when you've been working too hard on a project and your partner asks you to have breakfast with them, you don't say no. You go and have breakfast. That is the message of this episode.
Sure.
Always good advice.
Yes.
It is good advice.
Next thing I want to talk about is Janeway has some great lines in the closing of this episode.
Yeah.
Where she says, "This is 1 year I'd like to forget."
Yeah.
And then as she's about to crash into the ship, time's up.
Yeah.
I mean, this was peak Janeway.
It's like the one that she has in the very last episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I won't say now, because we're not there.
She just nosedives straight into the weapons ship. Her place in Stover Corps is guaranteed. And for me, this ending scene, this is Commander Evans, the captain of the USS Johnston, charging at the Yamato in the Battle off Samar. It's that level of reckless, crazy bravery. And by the way, there's a really cool monument to the Battle off Samar, also known as the Battle of Taffy 3, right down in San Diego on the waterfront by the USS Midway.
Check that out.
Okay.
On to overanalysis. One of the things I think Annorax is not taking into account, and I think they did this quite nicely in the episode, is the effect of these incursions, removing these other races from the Krenim Imperium's experiences or the way it's been built up. Because we initially meet them, and they're a lot of bluster, but they're aggressive. And then the second time we see them, they're this sort of awful, arrogant, obviously imperialist kind of race. And then the final version of the Krenim that we see once things are restored is they just seem like they're just guys. They're like, this is, please don't come in here. This is not a good area of space right now.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the problems, and I think I like that they did this in the episode, is the social effects that his work would be having on the Krenim. He might have managed to finally restore the Imperium and discover that this isn't the place he wants to live.
So my friend is obsessed with writing this story. She has this idea about a situation where how in many time travel fiction stories, when you change something and then come back. So let's say you go back in time and you change something to make yourself fabulously wealthy. Yeah. When you come back, you're the CEO of this giant company, but you have no idea how to run a giant company. And I feel like there's a little bit of that in what you're saying here, James.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like, okay, now we have all the power, but should we have it?
Yes. Yeah. Look what you are. Next thing, I think maybe Annorax is something of a really charismatic and compelling leader, and that seemed to work on Chakotay. And I think maybe that worked on most of his crew for maybe the first 100 years. And I bet there were some of them who were still singing Annorax's praises, that he would restore the Imperium in just 2 more weeks. He'll be able to get the Imperium restored. So I can kind of understand why Chakotay was being suckered in, because I think we saw some of it here that Annorax could be compelling and passionate in his desire to help rebuild the Krenim. A lot of people could get suckered in by that. And it doesn't work on Tom because he's more cynical. I mean, he's naturally less of a believer.
Yeah.
I'm sure just in 2 weeks, we're going to have it all fixed. It's hard not to believe that morale was really eroding across the ship.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we see in present day that people just get caught up in their leader and do whatever crazy thing they say. So I suppose it's possible that they're like, yes, of course, he's going to do it. We know he's going to do it. And also they're living outside of time, so they're getting, I guess, the benefit of eternal life at this point, as far as they know.
Yeah.
But what is the life? It doesn't even look like nobody has any families or anything on the ship. It looks like they're all just soldiers. And it doesn't even look like there's any women on the ship. It looks like there's only men. So I don't know. It seems crazy to me that we would have 200 years where people would continue to follow this guy without rebelling.
I don't know if, and this might take us on a longer tangent, and if overanalysis is the place to talk about story conceits and things like this, but I don't think Chakotay is the right choice to be the character that kind of gets suckered in by Annorax.
Yeah.
Now, Lord knows there's plenty of stuff for Seven to do this season, But I really feel like the character that it makes the most sense to kind of go on this journey is Seven.
Oh.
Because at this point, she's not 100% fully invested with Janeway.
Yeah.
She would find the technology and the process of being able to actually manipulate time. I think she would find that fascinating in its own right and be more susceptible to Annorax's kind of seduction. And I think the dynamic, again, because I think this twists Chakotay's character and forces you to make leaps about who he is and what he is. The same guy that like suddenly stiffens his backbone in Scorpion and is like, I don't care, this is wrong and we're not going to do it. To, a little genocide is okay every now and then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. And also, I think Seven seeking perfection of the 100% restoration would make sense.
Although I like that as an idea, I actually still like Chakotay in here because I see it as this is speaking to Annorax's ability to convince people to get them on board. This is where I think he's more of a charismatic and a passionate leader who can bring, or used to be able to bring people on board with his ideas and his rhetoric. And maybe they didn't have time to show a lot more of that because it's very compact, this particular episode. And I see Chakotay would be a good example of someone who is worldly wise and experienced and is still managed to be caught up in Annorax's dream. And I think that makes Annorax's character a little more nefarious, that he's using that ability to bring people onto his side, which is not a good side. Or maybe it was originally, but it has turned into his obsession.
I can see that.
Yeah. Or the buttering up is actually impacting him, and it's more like what Attiba was saying, where he's just like, oh, I'm gonna follow this guy.
Yeah.
This guy seems smart. I'm gonna do what he says. I don't know. But yeah, that's, I don't know. Do you think they put that much thought into it when they decide which character they use in these situations?
I don't, and I think that they should, because I don't know if Chakotay is the right fit here.
I would be happy with no more Chakotay stories. That would be okay.
And also, I think you might get your wish. But I think, okay, so part of it is you get to see what happens to Janeway without the stabilizing influence of Chakotay. That's fine.
Okay, I don't think I'd considered that.
Mm-hmm.
But also it would be interesting to see that dynamic play out with Chakotay present. And like what his presence would she make the same moves? Would we get action Janeway, or would she be more receptive to other kind of solutions?
Yeah. Well, I think we saw the first part that Janeway was, even with Chakotay there, she was following this path. She was going to get through Krenim space. It didn't matter. They weren't going to run away, which was already becoming a little bit unhinged.
But I think when she made that decision, she was dealing with the depowered version of the Krenim.
Yeah.
Right? She was like, oh, these guys just barely can even touch us. Yeah, we're just gonna bowl right through their space.
Right.
And what are they going to do? What do you got? Nukes? Forget it.
When the ship was a little bigger, she reconsidered.
Right. But when the ship was a little bigger, she was like, But
that would be the point where Chakotay, as a second officer, should be like, Captain, let's just turn around and get the hell out of Dodge.
But remember that episode, was it, I want to say it was the Cloud. No, the Swarm.
Oh,
where she made the decision to go into that space, even though they had no evidence that they could combat the swarm of those little ships.
Yeah, but they were trying to hide.
Yeah.
Harry was messing with the shield.
But they didn't test it. They weren't, I mean...
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was your big complaint. They didn't do any testing.
Which is my big complaint in my job, too. Did we test this?
Another thing is, since we have temporal shielding now, or... No, we don't.
Now it's all been forgotten.
All been forgotten.
Oh.
Apart from... And Kim brought this up. Didn't Kes tell everybody about the temporal shielding when she went back?
That's my first overanalysis point. Is we've forgotten everything Kes told us.
Yeah, you'd think that would be like the top of Kes's list. Temporal shielding.
Yeah, nobody had a notepad, so...
The ending is tricky because I saw a lot of people complaining online about, it's too easy, right?
Yeah.
But anytime you do these sort of wacky time things, you have to accept weird storylines. The timey-wiminess of it is real,
yes.
right? Because if you actually had temporal shielding, you would be protected from all of the time stuff. Like, they almost should have been in the same situation that the Krenim ship was in with that shielding. I don't know. They have to be a little bit loose with it.
I think they kind of were in the same situation. Once they got the time shielding online, Voyager was able to avoid Annorax's time incursions.
But like you said, he was still almost pushing them out of time somehow, even though they already had the shielding.
Headcanon, it's the distance. It's the shockwave.
Okay.
As it gets further away from the incursion. Because they're not actually at the incursion point. They're at just the shockwave point of the incursion.
Here is my question for you and for Ray Bradbury.
Wow, that's some noble company, though.
That's a big jump.
If the effect of the time is delayed and there is indeed a shockwave, what medium is that shockwave traveling through?
Space.
Because it ain't time.
Space. It's just
So just space. Just
yeah.
Sure. Okay. See, this is why I don't deal with time.
That's why, you
They make my head hurt,
you can't overanalyze it.
Don't do it.
You just can't. You got to just go with it.
Okay. I still have some points.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're on the ship that's outside time, and they had the buffet of extinct species. Why did Annorax have to have a special containment pyramid to keep his wife's lock of hair if they're outside time?
Oh, that's a good one. Because that's a good one. That's a great question.
Well, maybe they could, or sometimes did, go in and out. Like, because if the core went offline, it's not like they would die. They could go make repairs and go back in or whatever. So that would always be protected no matter what.
Oh, so this was maybe a protection thing of if they phased into normal space, then...
Yeah, it would still be protected from whatever happened.
Okay, that's good headcanon.
Thank you very much.
And maybe they would have to phase into regular space every now and then to pick up supplies or something. So they weren't outside of time all the time. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's really creepy to keep a lock of hair. That's just weird. I don't want to look at that. Of course, I also have a weird hair phobia, which is why I cut my hair short. But I don't want to be looking at a box of hair. It's gross.
Next thing, and the final one. Annorax's overall motivation. What did he hope to achieve? Now, is the Krenim actually in the corrected original timeline? Are they a dying or collapsing empire? You know, kind of like the end of the Western Roman Empire, it's sort of slowly imploding inwards. And he's dreaming of these glory days, like the British Empire kind of thing. And this is where he's coming from.
Maybe, but if we kind of go to where he's at the end, if he was in that same spot, then it doesn't seem like he was in that bad of a life.
Yeah.
But maybe he was just trying to come up with a weapon to deal with what they thought was this looming threat of the other aliens, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they felt like they were going to somehow take over and that would be the end of the Krenim. I don't know.
So maybe it was as simple as there was a border dispute. Which
maybe.
That captain alluded to that this area of space was in dispute. Yeah. And thought,
his solution was, I'll just kill all of them.
We'll wipe out that race and then...
it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
I got the sense that they were in the midst of this long-running war with their original enemies, the first enemies that they tried to wipe out. And then the time ship was kind of the ultimate weapon in that war.
Yeah.
So it was initially a
doomsday device. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And that wraps it up for me. Over to you, Kim.
Oh, my first overanalysis point is about Kes. But one of my questions really is, in that episode before and after, they remembered the Year of Hell.
Yes.
Whereas we do not remember it here.
Yep.
So somehow in that timeline, they managed to survive and repair the ship.
Yep.
And they didn't have Janeway and B'Elanna. So are they saying that Janeway and B'Elanna are the problem? Or was it just a different story and they managed to actually survive, repair the ship, and get through it?
Okay. My take is, in that storyline, Janeway was the problem. Chakotay, I'm serious. I mean, Chakotay, after getting the ship beaten up to that point, basically went, okay, we're turning tails, we're going in the opposite direction as fast as we can, and we're going to write this whole area of space off. Annorax can keep on doing whatever he's doing for all eternity. We're just not going to go there.
Oh, so they really only had that one battle, and then it was just them getting out for a year.
Maybe it was just a couple of weeks of the ship getting, heavily damaged. And then they got back into far enough away that they could actually do the repairs and get the ship back working without Janeway and B'Elanna.
Okay. I don't know if we mentioned this in the last episode, but Neelix is now in uniform in these two episodes. Was he in uniform in that opening scene when they're in the astrometrics lab?
He was not. The first time he appeared in uniform was in part 1 after Tuvok had been blinded, and he appears in uniform because he asks Tuvok what the alert message should be. And has like the danger, Will Robinson.
All right. So we'll go back to him next week, not in uniform.
Yeah, Neelix is only in uniform in alternate realities for some reason.
Yep. Okay, just wanted to be sure. We talked a little bit about this already, but considering all the crazy stuff that we've done to avoid having to go around parts of space, I wasn't sure why we just decided in this one particular situation that we wouldn't do it. Now, we talked about it a little bit, like maybe they are a bit more powerful. Now that they've run into the Krenim, they seem a bit more powerful, and maybe they also recognize that their enemy is powerful. We don't cover that. We don't cover that it would be quite dangerous. But I just feel like we've seen Janeway so many times be like, I don't care. I'm just going through this. So is there a chance that there were some residual memories actually from what happened? And also the same with Annorax, because maybe he's a little bit different, or are we just doomed to repeat this story again and he's out there creating his time weapon? But did somehow whatever happened impact this timeline?
Okay, here's my take. The temporal incursion that happened when Janeway crashed into the ship and it then affected Annorax, it didn't push him out of time. It actually caused those events to stop happening. Whatever butterfly effect caused the ship not to be built and Annorax just to be working, if you like, on time theory, that's what happened. So the timeline changed, so the ship was never built, but Annorax still existed. His equations and things existed, but we didn't end up with any of the events that led to the Year of Hell.
Well, that's kind of why I'm asking. Is it possible that somehow it impacted him so that he made a different decision and the ship didn't get built?
Yes, I think that's entirely the point.
Okay.
And I think, what we saw at the end there was this was the decision point. It wasn't, destroying an entire race. It wasn't, some huge effect that happened. It was literally his wife saying, come on, let's have breakfast. Stop. You've been working on that all night. And him just saying, it's a good idea.
I could get you to stop doing whatever crazy thing you were doing by just saying, do you want to go for quiche?
Oh, yeah.
At that place where they make good quiche. And you would do it.
Yep. Despite being a programmer, I do love quiche.
Going out for breakfast is easy with James. And I think the complaints of the ending being too easy, like the first time I watched it, I thought too, was that too easy? How did we just reset and everything was fine? But you have to remember what Annorax said, that the past, the present, and the future are the same.
Yeah.
And what we have done now is we've erased this time ship from history.
Yep.
So everything that has been done was erased.
Yeah.
So to me, when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, it does make sense that there would be a drastic change in this timeline.
And what's funny about this, I think, is the fact that from Voyager's perspective, the events of Annorax and what he did happened 200 years ago.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd be long past that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's cool. What an interesting episode. Okay, that's all my overanalysis. Attiba, how about you? Do you have anything?
Just my point about Chakotay, if he's the right character. The person that gets enthralled by Annorax here. Other than that, analysis of Janeway's character versus Cisco, but I don't know if that's really something. Just quickly, I'll just say that Janeway for most of the series, and her journey is somewhat interesting because I feel like in the beginning, in the earlier seasons, she feels this need to be like to be Picard-like, to be an upstanding scion for everything that the Federation stands for. And as we progress and as things keep happening, she becomes more and more okay with not being. Mm-hmm. She starts off as Picard and more turns into Cisco. I just thought that was...
And goes beyond, I would say, even.
Yes.
Yeah, but she's in a very different situation because Picard can exist on his laurels when he is surrounded by the Federation.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have that. And so she tried to keep those principles, and she's used them a few times to say we have to uphold our principles. But she's now just become obsessed with saving the crew. And she'll do anything now
Exactly.
to save the crew.
Yeah.
I will give you my opinion on the difference between Janeway and Sisko. Sisko is General Eisenhower. Janeway is General Patton.
Really?
Yes.
See, I would have said Janeway's Eisenhower. Okay, for everybody that's not up on World War II, generalship. Why don't you tell them what you mean exactly?
Okay. I see Sisko as both a competent war leader and a politician. And I would even say maybe even Sisko is more of a politician at heart and more of a diplomat and someone who can deal with that horrible gray area outside the Federation where everybody isn't perfect and work together with the other people who may not even necessarily be friends, but allies. And that's where I see Sisko, but also a competent war leader. Whereas I see Janeway, certainly in when we see, I think what we see the underlying Janeway come out is a pattern. Politics, being nice, the ephemeral things, they don't matter. Killing the enemy, getting the job done, that is my job and that is all I will do.
This is the crux of the argument for me.
Yeah.
Does season 4 Janeway strand Voyager in the Delta Quadrant over the principle of saving the Ocampa?
Probably not.
Probably not. So,
it depends, but it's hard to see at this point. It's hard to see her do that.
Oh, I still think she would because she still has a base concept of right and wrong. And
she does.
She would still save the Ocampa because it's the right thing to do.
But I think she'd find a way to sacrifice herself to get the ship out of there, is what she would end up doing. She'd more likely do something like that. She'd try to get both.
There are some very interesting episodes coming up that kind of deal with these particular moral quandaries, and I look forward to hearing more about these particular discussions.
Well, it's interesting to me to think about, what if they were swapped? What if Janeway was on Deep Space Nine and Sisko was in this situation? Would they have ended up doing what each other sort of did? And maybe. I think Janeway probably would have started out more like Picard, right? Like she does here.
Oh, yeah.
And Sisko was never that. They made a point of Sisko not being like Picard for many reasons.
Right.
But if they were switched, I mean, I think we've seen Sisko would do whatever, like, to protect his kid, for sure. And if the kid's on that ship, I think he probably is doing whatever it takes to get that ship home. Although, what was the episode? Children of Time? They did make the decision to just stay there. So maybe not. It's not quite the same, but still. It's an interesting thing to analyze.
This might be controversial. I don't know if Sisko would have been quite as obsessed with getting the ship home versus protecting his crew and finding some way of a stable planet where they could live. The human colony they found with Amelia Earhart, maybe that would be an option. I think Sisko would be a little bit maybe more practical, that aspect of him, where I think he was more of a pragmatist.
He probably was. It's difficult to compare because we haven't seen Sisko in this particular situation, and also Sisko was impacted by the Prophets. So it's just hard to compare, but okay.
True.
He could call home and say, "Mom, can you open a wormhole? We'd really like to get home."
Yeah, just snap my fingers. Okay, are we done with overanalysis? That's a tough one. Yes. I don't know how to solve that one. If we go to women in the future, don't really have anything there. A little short on women on the time ship, but otherwise not much to say. And we've already talked quite a bit about the leadership stuff, so this might be quick. I had noted that talking about Annorax in Janeway's leadership corner is he's an obsessive who's trying to restore things for himself. And I would be surprised that everyone just does what he says for 200 years. I think you make a good point, James, that it was almost cult-like, that it could have been. We don't know because we didn't really see anybody but Obrys, so I don't know what the other people were doing. But I guess you could assume that, they've joined the cult and they're just following whatever the leader says. And they always believe, we are just the next one's going to get us there. But she's over 200 years. Right. That's a very long time. I feel like even 100 years, they'd be rebelling. And then I noted the parallel, or maybe a parallel, with Chuckles becoming kind of obsessed with the time calculation and Janeway sort of becoming obsessed with what she was obsessed with, which was repairing Voyager.
Right.
I also wondered if the Chuckles thing was a little bit like a drug, that we could just keep retrying, keep calculating until we get it perfect. But it's just an obsession.
I think that was definitely part of it, yeah. There's also a parallel between the two captains and their obsessions. Janeway getting home, him getting back to a home that arguably no longer exists.
Right. I also noted Chuckles always ready to have a fist fight when someone doesn't listen to him, which so childish and not good leadership.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a jump backwards for Chakotay there.
And then there's a lot to say about Janeway. I mean, on the one hand, she's showing everyone that she will do anything for them. She'd do anything to get Voyager out of this, to save the crew, to get everybody home. But on the other hand, they also have to wonder if she's sane at some point because, like, she walked into fire. And it's like, was that really the right thing to do? I mean, probably not.
The Doctor's point does kind of stand.
Yeah.
She is suffering from some kind of psychological trauma.
Yeah. I will say, though, I really bought it. I bought that this is what would happen to Janeway in that situation. Everything she's done up to this point, I think, really set the stage for her to be like that in that situation.
I think this is one of the things that Prodigy got really right about Janeway. When she started having the fight with the loom when she took a shuttle out.
That was awesome. She turned up in her tank top and you're like, yep, there she is.
With the big gun. This was Janeway.
We had a trivia thing at work on Friday, and one of the questions was about the diviner, and I completely could not remember him. I hate being old. I was so mad I couldn't remember the name. It's just embarrassing. All right, well, let's move on to rating. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. Attiba, you go first.
Thumbs up for me. This one is usually consistently rated as one of the best Voyager episodes, and I can't really disagree. It deals with a lot of, high concept sci-fi stuff, and also a lot of personal development for a lot of the characters. And, what more do you want from Star Trek?
All right, James?
Absolute 2 thumbs up. These two are probably my favorite Voyager episodes of the entire show. The sci-fi aspect of the story, I absolutely love. And the second part is the best of the two. You see an absolute crazed Janeway. You see some great visual effects. And Kurtwood Smith manages to make Annorax this appealing villain without ever going over the top. What a great episode. And another thing I'll bring up is, you remember in Invasive Procedures, you brought up, Kim, the storm that was trapping them all on Deep Space Nine should have been a character within the story.
Oh, yeah.
And it really wasn't. And here I feel time is mentioned multiple times and it's talked about. And Annorax really makes time itself almost a character within the story. That is mocking him. He'll get so close, but you're never going to win. I remember cheering when Janeway crashes into Annorax's ship and just destroys all his plans. So good. So rewatchable. Love it.
I agree with everything both of you said and certainly give it a thumbs up. I think the only thing maybe in retrospect that I see lacking is it doesn't really have a lot of an emotional punch because none of the characters show emotion. I mean, yes, we see Janeway going sort of nutty, and we do see one moment with her when she's hugging Tuvok where when she realizes that he's hugging her back and she hugs him tighter, and I was like, oh, that kind of got me. But, there's no emotion from Annorax. Might have been nice to see a little, I guess. I don't know if that was an acting choice or if they did that on purpose in the story, that he just was not an emotional being, or it had been too long. At this point, it had been 200 years. He's just obsessed. He's no longer emotional about it. So I just think it kind of was missing, because a lot of times Star Trek really leans into the emotional side of it. But that would be my only criticism of it, is that it didn't have that. But otherwise, it's great. And the second episode is super rewatchable. I think more rewatchable than the first. Yeah. Maybe because it's ending and it is hard to keep watching Voyager just lose, get beat up endlessly. But it's 2 great episodes, great ending to the whole thing. So that wraps up Season 4, Episode 9. Come back next week for Episode 10. In the meantime, Attiba, anything else you want to share? You shared a little bit last week. You talked about your Kickstarter, which, though, will be over by the time this airs. But do you have anything else you'd like to mention?
Yes. My podcast, Teebs and Ken Phoenix Versus podcast, will be back.
Yay!
We'll be done with our OSHA-mandated hiatus and back on the air as of October 1st. And we've got some pretty fun things lined up. So yeah, that's and aside from just checking me out on social media, I'm at Attiba K everywhere, and my website is at attibaroyster.com. I have some great prints for spooky season if you need to decorate an office or someplace with some cool horror themed artwork. check it out.
Yep, absolutely. I have my 3 lovely Doctor Who pictures that you drew that I love.
I believe Attiba's sketch of the Thing is an absolute classic.
I do not have that one. And actually, I'm still waiting for James to clear out the room that's going to be my office so that I can feature them, feature my drawings that I have from you. Coming soon. All right. And again, thanks, Attiba, for joining us. And
thank you, Attiba.
We'll see what you pick
Always
for the next one. If it's something terrible or something great.
I think we're done. I think we're generally done with outright terrible episodes at this point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We really done a bit of beard growing here for Voyager. So
nice.
I think...
All right. Well, then that wraps up this episode. So in the meantime, if you'd like to send us your own overanalysis of this or of any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, you can always email us at rebingeit@gmail.com, or you can find us on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at ReBingeIt. And you can join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts.
Thanks for joining us on the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it from me.
And that's it for me.